Well, fantasy drafts right around the corner in the next week or two for fantasy owners before the season starts on September 4th. Is another strategy I've used a lot over the seasons in fantasy drafts, and that's wait on quarterback and the tight end position. So pretty much load up at running back, wide receiver, first 6-7 rounds of the draft, and then go for my quarterback and tight ends in the 8th round and beyond. So to start this draft, the first of 3 drafts I did third overall pick, started with Bijan Robinson. Can't go wrong with Bijan. Second, third range, it's close, depending the sites and depending what you prefer. If you want more receiving out of the backfield, Bijan Robinson's going to bring that than a Saquon Barkley. Then the second round, Ladd McConkey. Last year, great rookie season, it was for Ladd McConkey. Then third round, Chase Brown, where I think he could have a monster season, a good receiver out of the backfield, no competition over there with the Cincinnati Bengals. So Chase Brown, we saw last year, he could handle the workload, and with Zach Moss going down mid-season last year, Chase Brown took the job by storm and he never looked back. Then fourth round, went with Xavier Worthy. Going into the year, looks like he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. Rashee Rice, suspension's been looming. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now on the channel, that the suspension's looming, but nothing has come of it yet. But I think Worthy, he's a top 50 player this season going into the year. And if Mahomes could connect just a little bit more on that deep ball, he really could have a breakout second season. Then I went with Tedda McMillan, who I like a lot going in this year. No competition over there in Carolina. He's going to step right into the starting job. It's the number 1 wide receiver is McMillan, and he's the best receiver coming out this season from the NFL draft. So they use high draft capital, obviously, on him. Is a Carolina Panther team. And we saw last year Bryce Young with Adam Thielen, they put up numbers, and I think McMillan in his rookie year wouldn't be surprising to me if he receives 800 to 1,000 yards on the year. Then 6th round, I went with my third back in this draft, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, good value in the 6th round. He had a good year in his first season with the Minnesota Vikings. I know they traded for Jordan Mason this year as well, but I still think Aaron Jones is going to get majority of the work, at least early on in the season. The only thing, obviously, with Aaron Jones, he's had injury concerns throughout his NFL career. Then 7th round, I went Jameson Williams. Last year, finally the breakout year for Jameson Williams, and he's getting a lot of one-on-one coverage with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, a backfield that gives him Montgomery and also Sam Laporta work in the middle of the field at the tight end position. So Jameson Williams, like I said, that one-on-one coverage, and to get him in the 7th round as my number 4 receiver is great value. Then in the 8th round, got my quarterback, Baker Mayfield. And for Baker to fall to the 8th round is great value, I believe, here for Baker Mayfield. Last season, 4,500 yards, had 41 touchdowns. I know he had some turnovers, 16 interceptions, but Baker's a gunslinger, and that gunslinger mentality ever since he went to Tampa a couple years ago, he's been putting up numbers, and they still got Mike Evans over there. Godwin might not be 100% or start the season in the starting lineup, but they got the rookie Emeka Egbuka, who's moving up the draft boards, and Jalen McMillan, who had a good rookie season as well, and Cade Otton at the tight end position, and Bucky Irvin out of the backfield. So I think Baker in the 8th round is great value, where he was top 5 in almost every category at the quarterback position. Then 9th round, I got my tight end Tyler Warren, and going into the year right now, he's a top 12 option for me at the tight end position is Tyler Warren. They use good draft capital. A 14th pick overall was this Indianapolis Colts team. And to be honest, this Colts team, they really haven't had a great tight end since going back to the Peyton Manning days, where it was Dallas Clark working the middle of the field at the tight end position. So like I said, Warren, it was surprising. He was the 2nd tight end picked in the NFL draft behind Colston Loveland. But like both of these rookies, and these are great values, where you could get these tight ends anywhere from the 9th to the 11th round range. Then 10th round, filling out the bench more, went Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen last year wasn't a great year. Now back with the Los Angeles Chargers. I think him and Herbert are going to pick up where they left off, have another decent season. I'm not saying he's going to overtake McConkey for number 1 receiver or anything like that. But like I said, I think he could beat out Quentin Johnston pretty easily, and even the rookie Harris as well in the receiving room. Then Jerome Ford, I think he'll be the starter going to the year. Jukins, off the field issues, still hasn't signed his rookie year deal. And I know Sampson, they drafted as well in the 4th round this year, is this Cleveland Brown team. But as of now, to me, going into opening day, it's Jerome Ford's backfield. Then Roschon Johnson, he's got potential to eat into the workload a little bit more. DeAndre Swift, but as of now, he's going to be the handcuffed and working at goal line packages at times as well, like we saw last season. And Jaden Higgins, to round out this draft, where right now he's lining up as the number 2 wide receiver for this Houston Texan team, with Christian Kirk coming out of the slot to the final roster with the 3rd pick in this first of 3 mocks. Baker Mayfield, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy, Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Tyler Warren, Teddy McMillan, Aaron Jones, Jameson Williams, Keenan Allen, Jerome Ford, Roschon Johnson, Jaden Higgins. A good balance in this draft. And like I said, I waited to the 8th round. The longer this strategy is going to be. And to get Baker Mayfield in the 8th round is a great value. And Tyler Warren, he's got potential to be a top 10 tight end this season. I know the Colts, they haven't used the tight end position much over the last few seasons, but you're not going to use the top 14 pick in the NFL draft, which is obviously high draft capital on a tight end, if you're not going to utilize him and use him to your strengths. Tyler Warren, he was a good pick in the 9th round, I think, and he's a good guy going into the year as a sleeper at the tight end position. Now the next draft, I drafted from the 8th spot overall. CeeDee Lamb fell to me, which is very surprising. He's my number 6 player on the board coming into the season. To get him 8th overall was a steal. Bucky Irving, I got him in the 2nd round. As time approaches closer to fantasy drafts, Bucky Irving's moving up my board even more. Last season, an impressive rookie year. Over 1,500 yards from scrimmage. He caught over 45 passes. And now going into the year, he's going to be the man off the bat for this Tampa Bay Buck team. I think Rachaad White's still going to get some work in that backfield, 8 to 10 touches per game. But Bucky Irving, I know he's a small back, but he's a 3-down back, could catch the football, physical in between the tackles, tough to tackle. Just his power and low to the ground, Bucky Irving, where he could bounce off defenders and keep going. And we saw it a lot last season, and he's a good pass protector. So Bucky Irving, definitely moving up my board. Then 3rd round, Tyreek Hill, if you've been watching the channel, a lot of these mock drafts, he's falling right in that 3rd round, mid to late 3rd round range. And Hill, I think, definitely could have a bounce back season with this Dolphins team, especially in the 3rd round. It's not like I reached and got him in the 1st round in this draft. Then Breece Hall, I think 4th round, it's great value for Breece Hall. I know some people are down on Hall going into the season, but I think Hall's going to be fine. I know Fields is the quarterback, and he's a run-first quarterback most times than not, is Justin Fields. But Hall, one of the better receivers out of the backfield. Fields, he's dumped it off a lot in his career. And at the goal line, believe it or not, Hall's not going to be that effective, even with Fields at quarterback. Then Teddy McMillan, I went with him once again. And McMillan, he's one of my go-to guys in that 5th, 6th round range. Good upside. Not many people in on him because he's on the Carolina Panthers, but someone's going to have to catch the ball over there in Carolina. And obviously as well, they're going to be trailing most likely a lot of ball games. And he's going to get into the mix. And then the 6th round, I got another rookie, Trevion Henderson, who he's moving up my ranking board quickly over the last couple weeks here, especially after his first preseason game, a return touchdown for 100 yards. He had a few catches in that game as well and a rush for 18 yards. And I know Ramondre Stevenson, he's the back. He's still going to get a decent amount of work. He's Ramondre Stevenson. But Trevion Henderson, they use good draft capital on him, and he's an explosive playmaker. And this is what this Patriot team really hasn't had over the last few seasons. A guy with game-breaking ability and a playmaker. J.K. Dobbins in the 7th. He's going to be the starter, I think, in the beginning of the year. And R.J. Harvey will mix in. Then 8th round, Jerry Jeudy. Good value. Jeudy had a breakout season with the Browns last year in his first season with them. Jared Goff, 10th round, is just great value in my opinion. Every year, pretty much over 4,000 yards and 30-plus touchdowns in the air, especially in an offense with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams. So like I said, out later rounds, and Jared Goff, to get a guy over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, to get him in the 9th round, is great value. Then I went another rookie tight end like I did in the previous mock, Colston Loveland. And this offense should be explosive with Ben Johnson as the head coach. And obviously we saw he did wonders for the Detroit Lions over there over the last couple seasons. Is one of the more high-powered offenses. And Loveland, they used the 10th overall pick in the NFL draft. So right away in training camp, he moved up the depth chart to number 1 over Cole Kmet. Then Darnell Mooney, good veteran back-end wide receiver to stash on the bench. Ray Davis, Austin Eckler, 2 handcuff running backs, and 2 of the better handcuff running backs in the league as well. So to get those guys in the 12th and 13th round is great value and good bench handcuff running backs. So the final roster, Goff, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Colston Loveland, Teddy McMillan. Then the bench, Trevion Henderson, to have him come off the bench is a solid piece, obviously. J.K. Dobbins, Judy, Darnell Mooney, Ray Davis, Austin Eckler. So this draft, it's a balanced draft. At the wide receiver position, good balance. Running back, I like that running back room a lot. If I could get that in the regular season in some of my leagues, that would be great. And Colston Loveland at tight end, he has the good upside, and we know this bad team's going to play him a whole lot, where you're not going to use a crazy pick to get a tight end, and he's going to be sitting on the bench or not be involved in the offense. And Tedder McMillan, like I said, another rookie as well, that's going to have a good season. So in this draft, in the 8th overall spot with Lamb dropping, and then everything else just panning out pretty well in this draft, it's solid with waiting on quarterback and tight end. So the final draft, 11th pick overall, Puka Nacua. I went with Puka. He's fallen on this Yahoo platform, but in my rankings, he's the number 4 wide receiver overall and number 8 overall player on my board. So to get him at the 11th spot, it's great value. Second round, Devon Achane, which is great. Achane's my 13th overall ranked player and my 6th ranked running back coming into the season. And last year was a monster year for Achane. People might not believe it, but receiving-wise, he improved big time. And if Tua could stay healthy, even though it's a big if, no doubt about it, his Dolphin offense is going to get back to levels they were over the last couple seasons before last. And Devon Achane and the next guy who I took in the 3rd round, where you could pencil him in pretty much any draft. If I got that 3rd round pick and Tyreek Hill's there, 95% of the time I'm going to take him. I know are down on Hill. They think he lost his step, and Father Time's catching up as he's reaching 30 years old. But Tyreek Hill, when he's motivated and has a chip on his shoulder, we've seen him go out there and put up numbers. So I think this season Hill, especially with a 3rd round pick, is great value. And you've seen throughout these draft series, if you watch the channel, I get Hill a lot. 4th round, Mike Evans, another receiver I'm big on going into the year. Him and Baker have had great rapport over the 2 seasons they've been with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers together. Mike Evans, 11 years in a row with 1,000 yards, so not much, obviously, to explain. You just know he's a wide receiver that goes out there and puts up the numbers. 5th round, Trevion Henderson, he's my number 2 back going into the year, where you saw in the last mock draft he was coming off the bench. But I still will be comfortable with Henderson because I think quickly this guy has game-breaking ability, and we know this New England Patriot team don't have a lot of playmakers and home run hitting ability playmakers as well on the roster. So Henderson in the back end of the 5th, I'm fine with it. Then 6th round, DeAndre Swift, where Swift, believe it or not, throughout his career has been a top 24 running back in PPR leagues in points per game every season of his career. So he's a number 2 back when it's all said and done. Every season he finishes at, and he hasn't had injuries really over the last 2 seasons. So I think Swift, with not much competition, and Roscoe Johnson still the backup over there for this Chicago Bear team, I think he goes out there and he's a solid player once again. And then 7th round to get Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner last year. He's going to be a receiver out of the gate, no doubt about it. They didn't trade all that draft capital to move up to the number 2 overall pick and just have this guy play corner and a receiver once in a while. I think the primary position for Hunter is going to be a wide out, and to be lined up with Brian Thomas on the field, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage, and we know he's got the home run and game-breaking ability. 8th round, Jordan Mason. I think Mason, as the year goes on, could get some work in this backfield with this Minnesota Viking team. And Aaron Jones, we know he's a veteran and a crafty veteran at that, who still could put up numbers and go out there and make plays. But like I said, Mason last year, filling in for McCaffrey when he went out with injury, he had some big ball games. I like Mason as my 4th running back. I think it's solid. 9th round, Jared Goff again. 9th, 10th round, Goff's always been there in these mock drafts. Maybe, obviously, in your drafts with your friends and family, he might be maybe a round or 2 up, 7th, 8th round, but that's still good value for a quarterback who's going to throw, like I said early in the video, over 4,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns, or at least 30 touchdowns. 10th round, Zach Charbonnet, one of the best handcuff running backs in all pro football. We saw last season filling in, obviously, for Kenneth Walker when he went down with injury. He was putting up numbers and had big games. Then 11th round, I finally get the tight end in this draft. Tyler Warren, we saw early in the video, I got him in the 9th, but this one I waited out to see who'll be there in the 11th round. I got Tyler Warren. So like I said, in my opinion, he's a top 12 tight end coming in. Colts needed another playmaker in the offense, and to be honest, if Daniel Jones is the starter, I think that bodes better for Tyler Warren than if Anthony Richardson was the quarterback. And then Bateman, 12th round, and Luther Burden III, who's a touted prospect coming out as well, especially a lottery ticket type of wide receiver in the last round of the draft. So once again, I think this strategy might be the best strategy going into the season. There's a lot of quarterbacks in that 9th, 10th round. Jared Goff, obviously one of my favorite quarterbacks in that round. Dak Prescott, he's in that area as well. They got a lot of weapons in Dallas. J.J. McCarthy, a lot of weapons over there in Minnesota where he could go out there and make plays. So the quarterback's not going to be an issue, and even the tight end spot. Warren, Colston Loveland, Dallas Goedert, Dalton Kincaid, Jake Ferguson, Darren Waller, tight ends like that are going to be out there as well at this position. So the final roster: Jared Goff, Puka Nacua, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, Trevion Henderson, Tyler Warren, Mike Evans, the starting lineup. And then off the bench, very solid bench, I believe I had here: DeAndre Swift, Travis Hunter, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, Rashad Bateman, and Luther Burden III. So I think this strategy, out of all the other type of strategy videos I've made, is one of the best, if not the best strategy. Like I said, good quarterback quality is there this season. Quarterback position the last couple of years now has rounded out to shape. And sometimes, like last year, one of my drafts, I went early with C.J. Stroud in the 5th round, and he just didn't have a good season. And even with Kyler Murray in the 6th round as well last year, he was inconsistent. So I think this season, more drafts than not, I'm going to wait on the quarterback and the tight end position because there's good value late in those rounds, and you could really load up like you've seen in these videos at wide receiver and the running back position. So this strategy, definitely a good strategy, I think, if you want to strategize going into fantasy drafts, even though most of the time I'm taking the best player available and using this strategy. If there's more starting positions, then I'm definitely waiting on quarterback and tight end positions. But if it's a standard league like this with 2 receivers, 2 backs, a flex, tight end, quarterback, obviously then sometimes I would mix it up and go quarterback earlier. But this is a solid strategy and really balanced teams we've seen in this video I made. So that's waiting on quarterbacks in the tight end position from the 8th round or later. Strategy breakdown entering the 2025 fantasy football season.